A return to Hans Island has tantalized the thoughts of Enter the Dragon fans ever since the movie premiered in 1973. Many have wondered just where in Hong Kong the various scenes in the movie were filmed. Even with the magnitude of Hong Kong's urban sprawl, certain of the film's exterior locations still remain, if you know where to look for them. This old path at the foot of Castle Peak, with its concrete table and stools, is where the scene depicting Bruce Lee's character philosophizing with a Shaolin abbot was filmed. This is one of the better preserved locations from Enter the Dragon. Within the same monastery, Lee's character is seen walking along another pathway en route to meeting with Mr. Braithwaite. The two then sit down for tea within a section of a small garden that runs next to a concrete wall that overlooks the valley below. Here's a tighter shot that better matches the one used in the film. If you note the small ceramic blue ball in the background at the top left of the screen, you will see that same ornament present during the scene when the gentleman pouring tea moves his head. A little further along the walkway from where Lee and Braithwaite had tea in the movie are two red pillars, which serve to mark the exact location where Lee's character teaches a young disciple the art of emotional content when kicking. Interestingly, all of the scenes that were shot at Castle Peak Monastery are within a stone's throw of each other. The monk scene was filmed on the upper pathway. 20 feet below this location, the red pillars mark the spot where Lee's kung fu lesson with the young student was shot. And 20 feet west of that, and along the same walkway, is where Lee and Braithwaite's scene was filmed. The scene in which Lee's character pays his respects at the grave sites of his mother and sister was filmed at Hong Kong Cemetery in Happy Valley. This is a massive cemetery that dates back to 1945 and contains over 10,000 graves. This particular scene was filmed in the Muslim section of Hong Kong Cemetery and required Lee and the crew to ascend some 200 steps to the top level of the cemetery. The scenes of Lee, Roper, and Williams boarding the large junk that was to take them to Hans Island were filmed within Hong Kong's Aberdeen Harbour. In the film, the fighters are seen leaving Aberdeen Harbour on a junk that heads out upon the South China Sea until it approaches Hans Island. There it anchors in a small bay, and a small boat brings them to their point of debarkation, a small concrete and stone jetty. This scene was filmed within a cove at Tai Tam Reservoir. The stone wall that stands behind Bolo and Tanya in the film has remained unchanged. Tai Tam Bay is usually quite active with boaters and water skiers, most of them oblivious to the cinematic landmark that they are passing by. Just down from the jetty and along the beach is where the scene of the police retrieving the body of Stewardess Mary King from the water was filmed. What we are led to believe is Hans Island in the film is actually a composite of three different properties. One is the Tai Tam shoreline with jetty on the lower right. Second are several tennis courts on the upper right, as well as a small white building to the left of the tennis courts. And the third is a very famous Hong Kong Renaissance-style building named the House of Virtuous Views. This last building is no stranger to the camera, having also appeared in the Clark Gable film Soldier of Fortune in 1955. This truly palatial estate takes up 50,000 square feet high atop a hill overlooking Hong Kong's Happy Valley. Built in 1937, this three-level building made of red bricks and green tiles is even more impressive up close. Of these three elements, one is no longer in existence. And unfortunately, it's the one that was featured most prominently in Enter the Dragon, the tennis courts. These were demolished in the late 1980s to accommodate the Pacific View apartment complex. Another landmark touched on earlier that appears in both Braithwaite's footage of the island and again briefly at the top of the screen as John Saxon's character is being led out by Han's guards is this white building. In reality, this was an outdoor washroom and lookout area on the grounds of the tennis courts. As the building now sits upon public land, it was able to escape demolition when the Pacific View apartment buildings were erected. Being both unattended and accessible to the public has resulted in its own problems, however, as vandals have knocked out part of its walls and graffitied its exterior. A shame, in some respects, as it is the only building remaining on this stretch of land from when Enter the Dragon filmed here in 1973. On a more positive note, one wall that appeared in the film still remains. It was in front of the stone wall that Lee's character, during one of his nocturnal excursions, discovers a cement ventilation box, which is still present. And had his first battle with Han's guards. On the other side of this wall can be found what remains of the steps that actor Jim Kelly's character practiced his martial arts in front of prior to spotting the human fly. And so our return to Han's Island reveals pretty much what one would expect after an absence of 40 years. Frankly, that there isn't much of it left. The walkway from the jetty has eroded. The general public has defaced certain landmarks. Commerce has destroyed others. And nature has consumed the rest. And while certain locales have remained for the most part untouched by the ravages of time, even these are beginning to change. But fortunately, the single best preserved element is the film itself. Within it are not only all of these exotic locations, but also the stars. The greatest martial arts movie of all time, Enter the Dragon.